Welcome to NTD News Today.
Here are our top stories.
Former President Trump posts a $175 million bond in his New York civil fraud case, and a judge in Trump's so-called hush money case expands a gag order on him.
Former President Trump is in Wisconsin to hold a rally and address some of the biggest issues on voters' minds as the state heads to the polls for their primaries.
A judge rules that first son Hunter Biden will face trial in a $1 million tax evasion case, rejecting multiple appeals to dismiss.
A temporary channel is now open at the site of the Baltimore bridge collapse. Find out more about the progress of the cleanup effort.
Israel will be investigating the killing of aid workers after it admits they were responsible. More about the tragedy and the response.
New technology will allow the blind and visually impaired to experience the upcoming solar eclipse through sound. How that's achieved.
This is NTD News Today, live from our NTD Global Headquarters. Here are Stephania Cox and Chris Beers.
Hi, I'm David Lamb, sitting in for Chris Beers.
And to begin the show, former President Trump is campaigning in key swing states today.
NTD's Jack Bradley has the latest from Green Bay, Wisconsin.
Yes, today is primary day here in Wisconsin, and voters are gearing up to cast their pick. Now, Wisconsin is a open primary state, meaning that voters don't have to register as either Democrat or Republican to vote here. And it is a swing state, so it's very important. But President Biden and Trump have this locked in the bag. They don't really have any challengers here in Wisconsin, but there are some things to pay attention to. For instance, President Trump this evening is holding a rally in Green Bay, Wisconsin, where I am. And before that, he'll be in Grand Rapids, Michigan, talking about the crisis at the border and how that's impacting residents up here in the Great Lakes. Now, Grand Rapids is the latest community to express outrage over the recent murder of a 25-year-old woman, allegedly by an illegal immigrant. When President Biden took office in 2021, he reversed many of Trump's border policies, and as we've seen, record surges at the southern border of illegal immigrants. Now, in the past few years, since that's happened, we've seen Biden's poll numbers go down. According to a March poll, the Associated Press Nork Center for Public Affairs research, about 2/3 of Americans now disapprove of Biden's handling at the southern border, and including 4 in 10 Democrats, 55% of black adults, and 73% of Hispanics. Now, Mexico's president has said that he would help aid the U.S. in curbing its illegal immigration so long as the U.S. meets certain demands, including lifting sanctions on Cuba and Venezuela, providing Latin America and the Caribbean countries with $20 billion in aid every year, and granting legal status to some Mexican immigrants in the U.S. Now, Trump has said that this shows, frankly, a blatant lack of respect toward the U.S. On the other end of this, though, Biden has said that it's Congress's duty to act, and it's their inaction that has helped fuel this crisis at the border. And just yesterday, the Biden campaign held a press conference targeting Trump, saying that, reminding voters of the January 6th Capitol breach. Now, Biden won Wisconsin in 2020 by just 0.6 percentage points, and Trump won in 2016 by a slightly larger margin. The results of the Wisconsin primaries are expected to come out at 8 p.m. Central Time. Reporting from Green Bay, Wisconsin, Jack Bradley, NTD News.
And former President Trump posted bond is in his New York civil fraud case. He can now appeal the verdict without the threat of his properties being seized.
And in the New York hush money case, a judge expanded a gag order on the former president. Trump's lawyers say this is unconstitutional. NTD's Jeremy Sandberg has the story.
Trump on Monday posted a $175 million bond as he appeals the judgment against him in the New York civil fraud case. A state appeals court last month lowered the bond amount by several $100 million. Trump's attorneys previously argued that covering the original $464 million bond was not feasible. The bond will pause any action that State Attorney General Letitia James could take against Trump's properties in response to the judgment. In February, a judge found Trump liable for overvaluing his wealth. Trump has appealed the verdict.
Today, justice has been served. Today, we prove that no one is above the law, no matter how rich.
The bond will hold until at least September, when the state appeals court also sets a schedule to hear Trump's appeal. If the court upholds the judgment, Trump will have to pay the whole sum, along with interest. But if Trump wins, he will be refunded the amount he has posted now. A judge in Trump's so-called hush money trial expanded a gag order against the former president. The order from last week prevented Trump from making statements about witnesses, jurors, prosecutors, court staff, and their families. Now the order will also include family members of the court and the Manhattan DA. The case revolves around Trump's alleged payment to adult film actress Stormy Daniels, which prosecutors say violated campaign finance laws. Trump has denied having an affair with Daniels or any wrongdoing in the case. The gag order comes after Trump made a social media post mentioning Judge Merchan's daughter, Lauren Merchan. She's a Democratic political consultant. Trump wrote on Truth Social that she, quote, makes money by working to get Trump. Judge Merchan said this will make everyone involved in the case fear for their loved ones and interfere in the administration of justice. Trump's lawyers argued that his comments are protected under the First Amendment. They oppose any expansion of the original order. They wrote that Trump's comments about Judge Merchan's daughter should be understood as criticism of the court and not a personal attack. They argued that criticism of government is constitutionally protected and asked the court not to grant the gag order extension. Jeremy Sandberg, NTD News.
Joining us now to discuss, we welcome Gerard Felitti, civil and human rights attorney and senior counsel at the Lawfare Project. Gerard, good to see you this morning. Could you start by explaining for us how exactly Trump paid for this bond and what the conditions of the loan might look like?
Well, we expect that Trump paid for this bond with a combination of cash to secure a deposit and pledge of assets. That pledge of assets is probably tied to one or more of the properties that he owns and controls. So ultimately, he probably paid in the neighborhood of $20 to $40 million in cash, and the rest is taken against collateral that he owes. The amount of the bond will probably be what he pledged is probably in excess of the amount that the bond is for. But nevertheless, Donald Trump did pull it off, and the bond has been issued.
And if Trump doesn't win his appeal, will this bond go towards paying the penalty to the city? Tell us about that process.
In theory, the bond is returned to Trump, and then Trump has to make good on what he owes in the judgment. If he prevails on the appeal, then that judgment will be moot. If he can also prevail in the sense that the amount of the judgment would be lowered significantly, and he would pay a lower amount. But ultimately, any bonds that are paid are returned, and then he would have to make good on whatever judgment is finally entered.
Now, the amount that was due was significantly reduced on appeal. How does that potentially impact discussions around, the amount that the judge initially set?
Well, it does. It is an interesting issue because in the legal profession, when we see this reduction, we do associate it with the likelihood of success on appeal. Usually when an appeals court, when you have a lowering of a bond like this, the court is looking at the case and seeing that there is the potential that there will be success on appeal. But also it's a nature of considering the difficulty that Donald Trump has in liquidating assets or securing the unprecedented amount of close to $500 million to pay for a bond, and a more reasoned approach that $195 million is something that is still reasonable. It's calculated based on what was adduced at trial, and it's something that can actually be put forth as a bond.
And what would it have meant for the state and for Trump if Attorney General Letitia James had seized his assets?
Well, I think it would have been a very big victory for Letitia James to be able to claim a total victory against Donald Trump. Essentially, to pay that amount of judgment would require significant unwinding of the Trump organization. There is no one single asset that can be liquidated to pay that judgment. It would require undoing decades worth of deals in order to come up with that money. So Donald Trump is very fortunate that this reduced bond gives him a very good opportunity to argue on appeal and to avoid what it essentially be a bankruptcy or a liquidation of his business entities.
Now, Trump's team had said that the amount that was asked was exorbitant and breached the Eighth Amendment. Do you think that they still have grounds to potentially appeal on that basis?
On an Eighth Amendment ground, I don't think it's a likely measure of appeal. Eighth Amendment more applies to criminal proceedings and to excessive bails and bonds, and this was not the case here. This is a civil proceeding, and that's not generally something where the Eighth Amendment comes in. That being said, it is an unprecedented amount, but it's also not a punishment. This was calculated as a measure of damages, essentially, what it cost the taxpayers of the state of New York. So this money was not derived out of thin air, but rather by numbers that Letitia James put forth and that the judge accepted as acceptable.
And Gerard, lastly, what's next for Trump in this case?
Well, in this case, we will see briefings being filed. We will see motions being filed, the brief in support. We will see this done in the next month and a half or so. After that, the Court of Appeals will set a schedule for oral arguments. We can expect that will take place at some point this summer, probably at the beginning of summer, June, July. We will see arguments in this case, and then we will have a decision.
All right, Gerard Felitti, civil and human rights attorney and senior counsel at the Lawfare Project. Great to speak with you.
Pleasure. Thank you.
And as President Biden and former President Trump gear up for a general election rematch, polling shows independent candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr. could impact the 2024 race. Kennedy is now the highest polling third-party candidate in over 30 years. NTD's Jeremy Sandberg has more on recent polls.
Polling from the Hill and Decision Desk HQ found Kennedy averaging just under 10% using results from over 100 polls. Trump averaged 41.5%, Biden just over 39%. A Harris X Forbes poll last month had Trump with a 3-point lead over Biden at 46 to 43% and 11% unsure. Kennedy had 12% when added to the race, while Trump maintained a 3-point lead. A Real Clear Politics national average poll has Trump 2.5 points over Biden in a 5-way race, with Kennedy at around 10%. Independent candidates Cornel West and Jill Stein came in just under 2%. A Quinnipiac University poll last week had Biden with a 3-point lead in a one-on-one rematch with Trump. Trump came out leading by 1 point when Kennedy and other candidates are in. Biden in a Reuters Ipsos poll last month had a 3-point lead over Trump in a head-to-head matchup, but Trump took a 1-point lead with Kennedy at 16%. Kennedy told CNN Monday he believes Biden is a bigger threat to democracy than Trump for being the first president in history to use federal agencies to censor political speech in his opponent.
You know, I can say that because I just won a case in the Federal Court of Appeals and now before the Supreme Court. It shows that he started censoring not just me. 37 hours after he took the oath of office, he was censoring me.
The 2024 hopeful has a long way to go to catch up to either major candidate and needs a minimum 15% national polling average to qualify for a presidential debate. Jeremy Sandberg, NTD News.
A federal judge denied a motion to dismiss charges against Hunter Biden for tax evasion. President Biden's son is accused of repeatedly failing to file his taxes on time. Hunter Biden is also accused of filing false returns to avoid paying taxes and falsifying records related to his company's payroll.
The charges say Hunter Biden evaded $1.4 million in taxes while allegedly spending money on a lavish lifestyle. The younger Biden has pleaded not guilty to all charges. His attorneys said last month the case was politically motivated and filed several motions to dismiss.
However, the judge rejected these claims, saying Biden's lawyers provided no evidence. The case could now go to trial in June.
Former White House trade advisor Peter Navarro hits a legal setback. He's attempting to guard his presidential records from his personal email account. Navarro is currently serving time in prison for defying a congressional subpoena. A panel of judges denied his appeal on Monday, stating the records must be turned over to the National Archives and Records Administration.
Navarro insists that the records are personal, not professional, and he wants assurances they wouldn't be used in his separate criminal prosecution.
In that case, he faces contempt of Congress charges for defying a subpoena from lawmakers investigating the January 6th Capitol breach. And up ahead, the Florida Supreme Court paves the way for a 6-week abortion ban. At the same time, it approves a ballot measure to protect abortion access in the state.
Google agrees to destroy billions of data records. A lawsuit claims it secretly tracked people who thought they were browsing privately. Don Ma joins us for more in just a moment.
Don't be screwed by lesser spine institutes who bait you with minimally invasive procedures. Then switch to screws, rods, disc replacements, and hardware. At Bonati, no metal hardware fusions are ever used. Bonati invented the precise tools necessary to minimize surgery, scarring, anesthesia, and recovery. So successful are the Bonati spine procedures, they consistently reflect 98.75% patient satisfaction. Over half our patients have suffered from failed back and neck surgeries at other facilities. Visit AskBonati.com.
I'm Ilka. I live with my daughter and with my grandchildren. There's a sense of comfort that comes with eating a good meal. We try to make the most, of what we have. We have rent to pay, and then there are lights and there are gas. And while my daughter and I both work, it still just doesn't seem like there's enough to go around sometimes.
Every day, millions of our neighbors face hunger, including 1 in 5 children, and food costs keep rising. Please call or go online right now to join Feeding America with your gift of just $19 a month, only 63 cents a day. Your monthly support can fill plates with nutritious food for families across the country and in your community, thanks to a nationwide network of food banks and volunteers.
If you were over and playing with us, you were part of our family and you were going to eat. A real cook can take nothing and make something.
No one should ever have to wonder if they will have enough to eat, and our neighbors are working hard to feed their families every day. Call or go online now. Visit helpfeedingamerica.org and give $19 a month. 98% of donations go directly to help millions of people facing hunger from coast to coast and in your own community. Use your credit card and you'll get this exclusive canvas grocery bag as a thank you for joining hands with people across America to help end hunger.
Some of the lessons that I hope that my family will take, it is important to treat people the way that you want to be treated. I have carried on the tradition of loving people through food.
Please call right now or go online to make a monthly gift at helpfeedingamerica.org. Your support helps our neighbors bring food home to their families.
There's always a searching process for beauty. You know it when you see it.
Join us on NTD Good Morning because we want you to stay informed.
Kickstart your morning with the latest you missed overnight.
Right, and don't forget that inspiration.
Absolutely, so let's shine some light on the good news too.
Tune in every weekday morning to NTD News.
We have more updates on the bridge collapse in Baltimore. The U.S. Coast Guard has opened a temporary alternate channel for vessels involved in clearing debris. This channel is on the northeast side of the collapsed bridge. Officials say this is part of a phased approach to opening the main channel leading to the vital port.
Crews are removing steel and concrete at the site of the bridge's deadly collapse, and the task can be complicated.
Officials say the temporary channel is open only to vessels helping with the cleanup effort. A tugboat pushing a barge for the Defense Department was the first vessel to cross the alternate channel.
2 additional larger channels are planned as more debris is removed from the waterway.
The owner and manager of the cargo ship that rammed into the Baltimore bridge aims to limit liability for the deadly disaster.
A court filing yesterday seeks to cap the company's liability at just over $43 million.
A federal court in Maryland will ultimately decide who is responsible for what could become one of the costliest catastrophes of its kind.
President Biden will travel to Baltimore on Friday and is expected to meet with state and local leaders as he tours the damaged area. Maryland Governor Wes Moore explained yesterday the dangers involved in the cleanup effort.
We're talking about a situation where a portion of the bridge beneath the water has been described by Unified Command as chaotic wreckage. Every time someone goes in the water, they are taking a risk. Every time we move a piece of the structure, the situation could become even more dangerous. We have to move fast, but we cannot be careless.
And near the site of the bridge collapse, community members put up a memorial to workers who were killed.
2 workers survived. 2 bodies were found in a submerged pickup, and 4 more men are presumed dead.
The workers have been described as immigrants from Mexico, Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador.
We know him because he owns a food truck on Glen Burnie, and we sometimes come buy food there, and also that's why we are surprised when we hear it was one of those guys involved in this accident. So that's why we try and get all people together to try and support. It's very hard for those people. You go to work and you never know if you're gonna come back.
The Florida Supreme Court is upholding the state's 15-week abortion ban. That means a later passed 6-week ban can soon take effect. NTD's Daniel Monahan has more on the ruling.
A 6-week ban passed in 2023 was written so that it would not take effect until a month after the 2022 15-week abortion ban was upheld. But in a separate ruling on Monday, the court also approved an initiative that would enshrine abortion access in Florida's state constitution. The initiative will appear on the November ballot, meaning Floridians have an opportunity to undo the abortion ban. The amendment to limit government interference with abortion would make abortions before fetal viability constitutionally protected. There is no universal consensus on the timeline behind fetal viability, but many consider it to be roughly 23 to 24 weeks after the point of conception. It would also apply in cases when necessary to protect the mother's health. Ballot initiatives for constitutional amendments must receive at least 60% of the vote to pass, according to Florida state laws. The group sponsoring the 2024 ballot initiative is Floridians Protecting Freedom. The group opposing the abortion access initiative is Florida Voice for the Unborn. Daniel Monahan, NTD News.
And joining us now is NTD's Business Matters host, Don Ma, to give us the latest updates from the tech and business world.
Don, good to have you here. So what do you have for us today?
All right, a couple things that I wanted to talk to you about, and one of them is Google, and the other one about Trump's media company, and I'll start there. So it seems like Trump Media's shares were rising sharply after their public debut last week, but have lost over 20% of their value. The stock previously skyrocketed to almost $80 a share, and the stock closed yesterday at less than $50 a share, so a big difference here. This means that early investors in the Truth Social company took a pretty sizable hit here, and the plummeting stock value can be pinned on a legal filing the company made yesterday, partly at least. The company said in 2023 they lost $58 million and earned about $4 million in revenue. One analyst did say that Truth Social was potentially overvalued here, and that reality may be dragging down the stock here. And Trump's share of the Truth Social parent, it's still currently worth well over $3 billion, even after the sizable tumble.
Okay, and now what's the latest move by Google to settle its lawsuit?
Right, so also very important here to talk about, Google is set to delete billions of user data when it comes to browsing records, and this is to settle a $5 billion privacy lawsuit. And the tech giant said it's going to switch off third-party trackers by default and is going to notify users when their data is being collected. Now, in the past, Google would use third-party cookies, and this is to collect user data even when users were on non-Google sites. So the 2020 lawsuit centered on Google's incognito mode, and plaintiffs accused Google of collecting millions of users' data without their knowledge, even while they were using this incognito mode feature. And Google says in their defense that the data collected was technical in nature and was never actually associated with any individual and was never used for any form of personalization.
Oh, Don, yeah, that's good to know. I mean, I've heard about the saying that whatever's on the internet, you could assume that it might go it's out there for people to see one day. So thank you so much for your insight, Danma. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
When we come back, a school shooting in Finland today. A 12-year-old opened fire on other students. What we know so far.
And Germany is planning to send thousands of artillery rounds to Ukraine. Ammunition is increasingly important along the huge front line. We'll have the details soon when we return.
I have never seen a production any better than this anywhere.
Breathtaking. It is absolutely stunning.
I feel better about the world. I feel uplifted.
Invigorating. It was encouraging. Gave me hope.
This has just been therapy for the soul.
It's a must-see. Must-see.
Make sure you see it. Make sure you see it.
Coming to Lincoln Center, April 3rd through the 14th. Buy tickets now at shenyun.com.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, and I'm here to tell you about my new product from MyPillow. Towels that actually work. Watch this absorbency test. Here's another towel that we randomly went out and bought. Here's one of my towels with the nice design. I don't know if you can see this, but you could line a swimming pool with this. I mean, this is crazy. Get rid of it. Towels that actually work. What a concept. I'm interrupting this commercial to let you know you can get our 6-piece My Towels, regular $69.98, now only $29.98. Or you can save 25% on our brand new kitchen towels, made with the same technology as our famous My Towels. Also, we have bath sheets, bath towels, washcloths, hand towels, and so much more. And the best part, with your promo code, your entire order ships absolutely free. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use that promo code to get deep discounts on all My Towels. And for a limited time, your order ships absolutely free.
What was the process of actually putting this all together?
Many hours of finding the right camera angles and watching it. The first trouble started just after 1 o'clock.
45 pages, here it is right here. Donald Trump has been indicted.
Somber day for the country.
This all happened before President Trump's speech was over.
The founder of the Oath Keepers militia group is headed to prison for more than 18 years.
His lawyers didn't have this video. The video we're watching right now, his own lawyers did not have. There was a big question of what did the people do who actually did enter the building.
This is where we picked it up with the security footage that is new. At this point, the story dramatically changes.
The New Jersey man who assaulted a Capitol police officer on January 6th has been sentenced.
So this was withheld.
This was not shown to the defense.
That could be considered exculpatory evidence. This doesn't seem like what a lot of the media is showing.
It's going to change narratives no matter what your political perspective is. What we're after is the truth.
Updates on the Israel-Hamas war. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says Israeli forces unintentionally killed aid workers in the Gaza Strip.
Unfortunately, in the last day, there was a tragic incident where our forces unintentionally struck innocent people in the Gaza Strip. It happens in war, and we are thoroughly investigating it. We are in contact with the governments and will do everything to prevent such occurrences in the future.
According to the World Central Kitchen, an Israeli airstrike killed at least 7 of its aid workers on Monday. World Central Kitchen is a U.S.-based group delivering food to civilians in Gaza.
The group said the victims included citizens of Australia, Poland, the United Kingdom, and a U.S.-Canada dual citizen. The killed workers were traveling in 2 armored cars when the convoy was hit in central Gaza.
The Israeli military said an independent body will open an investigation into the incident and get to the bottom of it. The military offered condolences and promised the investigation will be thorough and transparent.
The U.S. says it has been in contact with Israel. Leaders from the U.K., Australia, and Poland responded to the news.
The victims of yesterday's strike join a record number of humanitarian workers who've been killed
in this particular conflict. These people are heroes. They run into the fire, not away from it. They show the best of what humanity has to offer when the going really gets tough.
Shocked and saddened to hear the reported deaths of aid workers in Gaza. We're urgently working to confirm all the details, but my thoughts right now with their friends and family.
Australia expects full accountability for the deaths of aid workers, which is completely unacceptable. Aid workers and those doing humanitarian work, and indeed all innocent civilians, need to be provided with protection.
This is a tragedy. We still do not understand how this could have happened. I would like to express my sincere condolences to the family of our brave volunteer.
The Israeli Prime Minister is vowing to shut down a Qatari media, calling it a terror channel. For analysis on this and other recent developments, I spoke with David Wormser, analyst for Middle East Affairs at the Center for Security Policy. David, welcome and thank you for joining us. Now, the Israeli Prime Minister says he will shut down Qatari satellite television station Al Jazeera in Israel. Tell us about Al Jazeera, its coverage of Hamas, and whether the Israeli government has grounds to close its Israeli offices.
Yes, Al Jazeera, first of all, he now followed up the statement with legislation in the parliament to do so. Which made it a legal process that includes the Israeli Supreme Court, since it's a freedom of press issue. So there's still a waiver possibility by the Supreme Court. But Al Jazeera is a Qatari station. Qatar, it really is an extension of the Qatari government. It's funded by the Qatari government. And it services Qatari foreign policy objectives. So the Israelis consider it as much an extension of the Qatari government as they do a legitimate news operation. And on October 7th, the Israelis caught a whole bunch of Al Jazeera reporters participating, and many of them actually not just witnessing, but participating in the October 7th attacks against the Israelis. So the Israelis feel that they are an extension now not only of Qatar, but also of Hamas. The second thing is that the reporting from Al Jazeera has been stilted and has been very inciting of Palestinians and across the Arab world, including in Jordan and so forth, causing danger and strategic headache for the Israelis. So, and then finally, Al Jazeera just 2 days ago reported from a missile strike in the north, live, which they're not allowed to name the location when a missile strikes because it helps Hezbollah better target their missiles, and they did so anyway.
Switching gears here, the Israeli military withdrew from Gaza's largest hospital, Al-Shifa, on Monday after a 2-week raid. What was the strategic importance of this hospital, and what does this military withdrawal signify?
Well, the hospital really was the headquarters of Hamas altogether in Gaza, and since the Israeli invasion became the headquarters of Hamas in the north. So in many ways, one has to look at it as a hospital implanted on top of a command center, rather than a few terrorists embedded in a hospital. It was massive. The Israelis actually set a trap. They made it look as if they were no longer paying attention, withdrew, and waited for the command center to regroup after the Israelis had taken it a few months ago. And indeed, when they went in, it was a shock. It was a surprise. They captured 500 terrorists, now identified as terrorists. They arrested like 2,000, but many were not terrorists, so they released them.
Now, David, over the weekend, we saw large protests break out against Netanyahu, demanding he do more to bring home hostages held in Gaza. What do you make of this?
I wouldn't make too much of it. I mean, there were probably about 5, maybe 10,000 people. There's a hardcore of Israelis who really don't like Netanyahu. They've been around and demonstrating for 5-10 years at those levels. There were much bigger demonstrations over the summer that genuinely were concerning because they were 500,000 people or 250,000 people. But that's gone. We're dealing now with a hardcore, and they probably have improved the political fortunes of Netanyahu because Israelis really believe they're in a war for their life. and they don't like this unity. And this reeked of the sort of divisions in Israel before the attack on October 7th.
All right, David Wormser, analyst for Middle East Affairs for the Center for Security Policy. Thank you so much for your insight.
Thank you.
And now we have some short headlines from Finland, Germany, and other European countries. A school shooting today in Finland. A 12-year-old shot and wounded 3 other students. Police say 1 was killed and the 2 others are at the hospital.
They also say they took the suspect into custody after the student fled by foot. The country's public broadcaster reports the handgun was licensed to a close relative of the shooter.
Russian President Vladimir Putin says that Russia will find out who's behind the Moscow attack. Last month's attack on a concert hall killed over 140 people.
ISIS terrorists claimed responsibility for the attack. Putin today also said that the tragedy shouldn't lead to xenophobia and Islamophobia in Russia.
Russia says it has evidence the attackers had links to Ukraine. Kyiv and the U.S. have denied the accusations. Russia is working on removing the Taliban from its list of banned terrorist organizations. Russian officials say they talked to the Taliban because it's the de facto authority in Afghanistan.
Adding that because Afghanistan is close to Russia, they can't stop communication. The Kremlin didn't give any details on removing the Taliban from the list, saying the issue is still being worked on.
Germany plans to send more than $600 million worth of artillery shells to Ukraine. That's a contribution to a Czech-led plan to buy ammunition for Ukraine.
The most pressing need for Ukraine has become artillery ammunition. More countries have been signing up to the Czech plan. Germany's share will account for 40% of the initiative.
And lastly, Norway is increasing its number of conscripted soldiers. It plans to go from the present 9,000 to over 13,000.
Norway's defense minister says the country must have enough people with the right skills at the right time. Norway is set to reach the new goal within the next 12 years.
Neighboring Denmark has been discussing making a similar call in recent weeks. To increase numbers, it may extend conscription to women and increasing the time of service from 4 months to 11 months. Up ahead, a total solar eclipse is set to dazzle tens of millions of viewers as it passes over North America. Coming up, we'll learn what to expect from the natural phenomenon.
What does it take to get a physical exam for a polar bear? Maybe just a few more helpers. Officials at a Washington zoo fill us in on the details. More shortly here on NTD News Today.
Some things are better left to a professional.
In hindsight, probably shouldn't have tried to remove my own appendix.
Like when it comes to finding financial advisors.
What was I thinking?
So leave it to Smart Asset to find them for you. Take the free quiz at smartasset.com. Then you'll be matched with up to 3 vetted fiduciary financial advisors. To get started, take the Advisor Match quiz now at smartasset.com.
I was this close. This close.
Hi, I'm Caleb, and this is my story. I was born with osteogenesis imperfecta, or brittle bone disease. I have broken my bones almost 200 times, and I have had 11 surgeries. But I didn't let that stop me. I love to bike ride, climb, race, and I'm learning how to stand and walk. But I can only do all of this because of generous people like you and Shriners Hospitals for Children.
Because of people like you, Shriners Hospitals for Children has helped more than 1.3 million kids just like me, regardless of their family's ability to pay.
Shriners Hospitals for Children is only able to provide this world-class, life-changing medical care because of the generous gifts of people just like you.
Because of you, I can ride my bike. I can play basketball.
Because of people like you, I can run.
I can smile.
Will you send your love to the rescue today?
When you go to loveshriners.org right now and give just 63 cents a day, you're helping kids just like me.
Like me. Like me. When you give today, we'll send you this adorable Love to the Rescue blanket as a thank you and a reminder of the love you gave to a kid just like me.
Your gift, no matter how small, can help a child today.
This is your moment to make a difference.
When you pick up your phone, I know you have it right there, and call to give. You're helping kids like me. Thank you. Thank you.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Please call or go online now. If operators are busy, please call again or give right away at loveshriners.org.
Your gift makes a difference. Thank you for giving.
There's always a searching process for beauty. You know it when you see it.
I'm Iris Tao at the White House, and we are NTD.
In just a few days, a total solar eclipse will dazzle tens of millions of viewers as it passes over North America. Day will turn into night as the moon perfectly positions itself between Earth and the sun. NTD's Andrew Thomas has the latest.
Next Monday's total solar eclipse will be a spectacular show. The moon will be extra close to Earth, providing long and intense periods of darkness. The sun should be more active, with the potential for dramatic bursts of plasma.
Usually twice a year, the moon will come directly in between the sun and the Earth, blocking out some or all of its light. And on the 8th of April, what a few very lucky people are going to be able to see across parts of the world is a total solar eclipse.
The phenomenon will begin on Mexico's Pacific coast in the morning, before traveling through 15 states from Texas to Maine. The eclipse will exit in eastern Canada and into the Atlantic Ocean by late afternoon.
When it happens, you need to be in very specific places. In fact, if you want to see a total solar eclipse, you need to be within a very specific region known as the path of totality. Essentially, that is the place where the moon's shadow is passing over the surface of the Earth.
The period of totality will last up to 4.5 minutes in some spots.
Essentially, what they'll see over the course of 2 hours or so is the moon very slowly moving across the face of the sun, sort of looking like it's almost eating the sun out of the sky.
The next total solar eclipse will pass the northern edges of Greenland, Iceland, and Spain in 2026. Andrew Thomas, NTD News.
As viewers get ready for the total solar eclipse next week, new technology will allow the blind and visually impaired to hear the celestial event. NTD's Andrew Thomas has more on the device.
On April 8th, a total solar eclipse will cross North America. The blind and visually impaired might not be able to see the natural phenomenon, but they will be able to appreciate it.
We developed a device called the Light Sound that essentially takes light and converts it to sound as a tool for the blind and visually impaired.
A prototype was first used during the 2017 total solar eclipse in North America. Back then, people like Min Ha felt excluded from the event.
In 2017, I just distinctly remember feeling really left out. I actually have this memory of feeling a little bit resentful that I couldn't be a part of this eclipse in some way.
When the sun is bright, Light Sound plays high flute notes. As the moon begins to cover the sun, the sound shifts to a mid-range clarinet. A low clicking sound indicates the viewer is in the path of totality, when the moon completely obstructs the sun.
Even though we can't see something, it doesn't mean that we can't experience something. We have a lot of different senses and different ways of enjoying different experiences.
This year, Light Sound hopes to distribute at least 750 devices to eclipse events in Mexico, the US, and Canada. Andrew Thomas, NTD News.
Can dogs understand words for specific objects? A new study says yes, and that dogs picture the object in their minds when they hear its name, much like humans do. Let's take a look.
This border collie named Rohan was part of the study out of Budapest. Researchers at Eötvös Loránd University measured her brain activity. As her owner said words for objects she knew.
Dogs came to the lab and they didn't just listen to something that is not important for them, but they came with their own toys that they usually play with. And what happened during the experiment is that the owner showed the toy and then put it away, and then showed another toy and put it away.
18 dogs participated in the study. In some cases, the owners would present the dog with an object that matched the word.
Rohan, ¿dónde está Frisbee?
In other cases, the object didn't match.
Rohan, ¿dónde está Frisbee?
The results showed that there was a different pattern in the dog's brains when the words matched the objects compared to when they didn't, just like humans.
There has been a long debate on a non-human animal's ability to understand words referentially. Understanding the meaning of a word would mean that there is a so-called a memory of that object in the dog's mind. We call it a mental representation in psychology, and that hearing the word will activate this mental representation in the dog's mind.
Boro said the study is the first to claim the ability to understand referential language is present across the species. The researchers plan to examine if this ability is specific to dogs or might be present in other mammals as well.
And a 3-year-old polar bear named Laerke recently underwent her annual medical exam at a Washington zoo. The exam includes a variety of tests similar to those performed on humans to make sure she's healthy. The only difference is that it takes half a dozen veterinary staff to turn her over.
But the results were encouraging, as Laerke was found to be in good condition with no signs of illness.
So we're looking for any kind of lumps, bumps, masses, enlarged lymph nodes, anything that would be an indication of ill health, but we didn't find any of that. She is in optimal condition. We took blood so we could look at her CBC and her chemistry. We got a urine sample, which we wouldn't have been able to do without her under anesthesia. So really we look at her eyes, ears, nose, throat. We listen to her heart, we listen to her lungs. We do a palpation of her abdomen. So really it's everything that you could imagine hands-on, because this is our one chance once a year to get these physical exams performed.
Laerke was checked from nose to tail during the hour-long exam. She also had her ears cleaned, which veterinary staff joked was like a spa treatment.
Laerke has been living with her twin sister since June 2023 after moving to Washington from the Detroit Zoo.
Now, before we head into the break, here's an important change in our airtime that you may want to keep in mind.
Starting next Monday, April 8th, NTD News Today will run from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern, bringing you 3 full hours of up-to-the-minute news coverage and analysis.
For round-the-clock original news coverage, visit ntd.com or download our NTD app.
What's happened to this world we're living in? Why?
For the 4 years he has been on this earth, he has known nothing but war.
Wherever I go, the things I see, I just want to turn away. The dreams I have, the stories I could tell, will they still be possible? This year, more than ever, I need a brand new world, a clean world. Where I can improve myself and be inspired. My stage can be anywhere and everywhere. But it begins here.
Nanjing World, a brighter way of life.
It was spectacular, so beautiful.
I thought I was going to heaven.
Oh, it was electric.
I'm getting chills talking about it.
It gets a 10 from me, that's for sure.
It was that good.
Absolutely marvelous.
Hands down the best show I've ever seen.
It's emotional, it's captivating, it's visual. Every single bit of your senses is engaged.
Oh my gosh, it was a riot. I didn't expect to laugh so much and also be touched so much.
I was literally looking for something which was magical, uplifting, and it was way more than that.
The music was just so beautiful, and it really lit up the room.
And there's nothing like live music.
The combination of the music and the dancing was sometimes uplifting. You know, my toes are tapping and I want to get out of my seat. But it was also very calming.
I think it's magnificent. It's magnificent to see another part of Chinese culture that a lot of people don't get to see. And the stories are amazing. The execution, the dance is amazing.
The flips, the aerial movement, it was amazing. It wasn't anything I've ever seen before.
Absolutely perfection. There wasn't even one flaw.
I must say I'm so highly impressed with the level of the dancers, their technique, just all the concepts are absolutely wonderful.
The costumes, they were works of art.
The way they used the costumes to create part of the image, it was just absolutely mind-blowing.
I thought I was going to come to see some amazing dancing, but I learned so much about the Chinese culture.
They're actually telling you the story of their life, of their culture, of their history, and bringing it full circle so that we can see and enjoy it.
There was an encouragement to go back to that divine nature and those divine values.
This experience for me is transcendent. It was a communication to the soul and the spirit.
And I cried, I think, the whole time because it was so amazing.
It was powerful, and it is something that's needed in today's society.
People nowadays go to the doctors, the psychiatrists for pills, for antidepressants. This is the antidepressant, the best.
I knew it was going to be good. It's a billion times better than I even thought it would be.
I've heard people say, you don't want to miss this. And I would fully agree.
I'm going to tell everyone to come see it. You have to.
Definitely going to come back next year.
Totally inspirational. You have to go see this.
Everyone needs to see this.
Don't miss it.
It's a once-in-a-lifetime must-see that will change their lives forever.
One in 5 children worldwide are faced with the reality of living without food. No family dinners, no special treats, not enough energy to play. All around the world, hunger is affecting children's physical and mental health. Toddlers are suffering from acute malnutrition, which stunts their growth. Kids are forced to drop out of school so they can help support their families. Conflict, inflation, and climate have ignited the worst famine in our lifetime. And we are fed up. Fed up that hunger devours dreams. Fed up that hunger destroys joy. Fed up with the fact that hunger eats childhood. Help us feed the futures of children all over the world by visiting getfedupnow.org. For as little as $10 a month, you can join Save the Children as we support children and families in desperate need of our help. Now is the time to get fed up and give back. When you join the cause, your $10 monthly donation can help communities in need of life-saving treatments and nutrients, prevent children from dropping out of school, support our work with communities and governments to help children go from short-term surviving to long-term thriving. And now, thanks to special government grants, every dollar you give can multiply up to 10 times the impact. That means more food, water, medicine, and help for kids around the world. You'll also receive a free tote bag to share your support for children in need. Having your childhood eaten away by hunger is unimaginable. Get fed up. Call us now or visit getfedupnow.org.
My dad's name was David. He always talked about getting life insurance, and now
it's too late.
No one was expecting my husband Dave to suffer from a heart attack. We didn't have life insurance. We thought we had more time.
Don't be Dave, and don't wait until it's too late to get the life insurance coverage you need. And if you don't have enough insurance to cover funeral costs, credit card debt, and other expenses, your family is going to get stuck with the bill. Call now to get affordable life insurance.
Just call
800-494-1562.
If you're over 50, you can't be turned down for this insurance, regardless of your health. Plus, there's no medical exam, no health questions. Your rate will never go up. Your coverage will never go down. And rates start as low as $5 a week. Remember, don't be Dave. Call now.
Call now.
800-494-1562.
Hi, I'm Kelly Wright. We thank you for joining us and watching America's Hope here on NTD News. Bottom line is, I know you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, but let's give you some good news in the midst of the bad news. Watch us nightly, right here on NTD News, for a full dose of America's Hope.
Welcome to NTD News Today.
Here are today's top stories.
4 states are holding presidential primaries today. We take a look at some protest votes and an analysis of what the contests could say about the November election.
A temporary channel is now open at the site of the Baltimore bridge collapse. Find out more about the progress of the cleanup effort.
In Trump's classified documents case, the former president is expected to submit proposed jury instructions today. Judge Eileen Cannon made the unusual request after Trump's attorneys attempted to have the case dismissed. We find out why.
Israel will be investigating the killing of aid workers after it admits they were responsible. More about the tragedy and the response.
Russia wants to remove the Taliban from its list of banned terrorist organizations. The Kremlin's explanation for its questionable move.
And Shen Performing Arts is coming to New York City. After a successful stop in New Brunswick, New Jersey, we hear what audience members had to say about the show.
This is NTD News Today, live from our NTD Global Headquarters. Here are Stephania Cox and Chris Beers.
Hi, I'm David Lamb, sitting in for Chris Beers.
And to begin the show, voters in 4 states will weigh in today on their presidential party nomination. The vote is largely symbolic now that President Biden and former President Trump have locked up the Democratic and Republican nominations.
NTD's Daniel Monahan breaks down the contests for us.
Biden and Trump are both expected to easily win primaries in Connecticut, New York, Rhode Island, and Wisconsin, adding to their delegate hauls for their party conventions this summer. The decisions will nevertheless offer clues about enthusiasm among base voters for the upcoming rematch. In particular, the tallies in the battleground state of Wisconsin will give hints about the share of Republicans who still aren't on board with Trump and how many Democrats are disillusioned with Biden. All 4 states have multiple candidates on the ballot, and 3 of them also have an option to vote for uncommitted or uninstructed delegate. Biden has faced a protest vote over disapproval for his handling of the war between Israel and Hamas. Wisconsin voters will also decide the fate of 2 Republican-backed statewide ballot measures that will shape how elections in the state are run and funded. Here's a look at what is happening on the ground in the primaries. Connecticut has 28 Republican delegates at stake and 60 Democratic delegates. In New York, there are 91 Republican and 268 Democratic delegates up for grabs. While uncommitted is not an option on the ballot in New York, a group of activists has launched a Leave It Blank effort. They are encouraging Democrats to submit blank ballots instead of registering a vote for Biden. Voters in Rhode Island will have an uncommitted option on both ballots, as well as voting for former rivals of both Biden and Trump. There are 19 Republican delegates and 26 Democratic delegates at stake. Organizers in Wisconsin calling for a protest vote against Biden are urging voters to choose uninstructed, Wisconsin's version of an uncommitted vote. They have set a modest goal of 20,682 uninstructed votes, the margin Biden won the state by in 2020. The state has 41 Republican and 82 Democratic delegates up for grabs. Daniel Monahan, NTD News.
As President Biden and former President Trump gear up for a general election rematch, polling shows independent candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr. could impact the 2024 race. Kennedy is now the highest polling third-party candidate in over 30 years. NTD's Jeremy Sandberg has more on recent polls.
Polling from the Hill and Decision Desk HQ found Kennedy averaging just under 10% using results from over 100 polls. Trump averaged 41.5%, Biden just over 39%. A Harris X Forbes poll last month had Trump with a 3-point lead over Biden at 46 to 43% and 11% unsure. Kennedy had 12% when added to the race, while Trump maintained a 3-point lead. A Real Clear Politics national average poll has Trump 2.5 points over Biden in a 5-way race, with Kennedy at around 10%. Independent candidates Cornel West and Jill Stein came in just under 2%. A Quinnipiac University poll last week had Biden with a 3-point lead in a one-on-one rematch with Trump. Trump came out leading by 1 point when Kennedy and other candidates are in. Biden in a Reuters Ipsos poll last month had a 3-point lead over Trump in a head-to-head matchup, but Trump took a 1-point lead with Kennedy at 16%. Kennedy told CNN Monday he believes Biden is a bigger threat to democracy than Trump for being the first president in history to use federal agencies to censor political speech in his opponent.
You know, I can say that because I just won a case in the Federal Court of Appeals and now before the Supreme Court that shows that he started censoring not just me. 37 hours after he took the oath of office, he was censoring me.
The 2024 hopeful has a long way to go to catch up to either major candidate and needs a minimum 15% national polling average to qualify for a presidential debate. Jeremy Sandberg, NTD News.
And here to discuss the presidential race, we have Terry Schilling, president of the American Principles Project. Terry, great to have you with us. President Biden came under fire recently for signing a proclamation for a transgender day of visibility on Easter Sunday, the holiest day on the Christian calendar. Now, the president seemed to deny he'd done that when asked by a reporter. Terry, what kind of impression could this have left on Christian voters, and how might this affect the president?
Well, a couple things. First and foremost, thanks so much for having me. But I think the number one message that Christian voters in America receive from Joe Biden's proclamation of the Trans Day of Visibility is that he cares a lot more about that group of people than he does about Christians in this country. Right? It's never been a day and age in this country where Christians have been more under attack and more under assault, specifically by the transgender movement. This is an industry that's making billions of dollars a year. They're passing laws that criminalize parents for protecting their kids from this ideology and these procedures that sterilize and maim them. And it's absolutely unfortunate. I think, though, the scarier thing that the American people are learning is that Joe Biden's not really in charge, right? He didn't even realize that they sent out that statement and that resolution that he's supposed to have signed. It's very concerning overall, and it says that there's bigger problems in this administration.
Yeah, that could be something that the broader voter base may be looking at as well. Just looking to Trump, he has also faced criticism recently for what some see as sacrilege towards Christianity, namely selling a God Bless the USA Bible that also includes the U.S. Constitution, Declaration of Independence, and the Pledge of Allegiance. What do you make of those criticisms, and how do you think this sits with Christian voters?
Well, I don't think Christian voters are going to be shocked or even upset or offended at the fact that Donald Trump is tying the Bible with the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence. In fact, most American Christians, I think, believe that there's a divine inspiration behind the founding of this country, right? And I think that if you look at the principles that are laid out in our Declaration of Independence and our system of government that we have, there is some sort of divine nature to it. I'm not saying it's biblically, or I guess not the word of God like the Bible is, but most Americans, I think, that are practicing Christians in this country do think that America is a God-driven nation. Our rights come from God. I don't think they're going to be as offended, but this is what Donald Trump has to do to win, and he's appealing to his base of voters because the Republican Party, since he took over, has lost all of its godless billionaire donors. Those donors have all gone to the Democratic Party, and so now we've got to rebuild a pro-America, pro-Christian coalition to help get him elected.
And Terry, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is gaining in some polls. Trump's team says that he's for government control, as seen in his environmental policy stances. What's your perception of where he stands in terms of free enterprise?
Well, he's a unique candidate for sure. RFK Jr. Is running a very distinct campaign from any other candidate that we've seen in the past. He does like big government when it comes to the environment, when it comes to our kids' education. But then in other areas like vaccinations and parental rights, when it comes to those procedures, he's actually wants to get the government out of the way. And so he's a different type of candidate. I think that he's going to appeal to a group of voters that have been disaffected over the last several decades in American politics that really haven't felt like either political party represents them. But I think that ultimately when it comes down to whether or not RFK helps or hurts Donald Trump, I think ultimately he helps Donald Trump and peels away a lot more Democrat voters from Joe Biden than he brings to the table.
And RFK said on Monday that Biden is a bigger threat to democracy than Trump, pointing to his administration's censorship efforts on social media platforms. Analysts, as you have also said, but this is more of a Republican message. So how do you think that will impact voters who could potentially, end up voting for RFK?
Well, it would be like having two guys versus one in a fight, right? You're going to have to think that the other two guys are going to end up winning that fight. And he's exactly right. RFK Jr. is exactly right when he says that Joe Biden is the bigger threat to American democracy. And I think that having a third party in the race, someone that has the credibility of a Kennedy, is going to actually help bolster Trump's overall claims. A lot of people will look at the RFK vote as a protest vote, not as if they're actually going to elect him for president, but as a way to not vote for either candidate and show their disaffection with both of them. But ultimately, I think that if you have another guy piling on and attacking Joe Biden, it's going to help Donald Trump.
All right. Terry Schilling, thank you so much. Great to speak with you.
Thanks for having me.
Trump is set to speak in Michigan soon at an event in the swing state. He's expected to talk about the ongoing immigration crisis.
Trump will give remarks in Grand Rapids, Michigan at 2:30 p.m. The event is titled Biden's Border Bloodbath.
The name stems from a recent controversy. Media outlets misrepresented a statement made by Trump regarding a figurative bloodbath in the auto industry.
The former president is expected to highlight the murder of a young Michigan woman in his speech today. Police say she was shot in her car by her boyfriend last month. The suspect had previously been deported to Mexico. And President Biden's re-election campaign unveiled plans to target Florida, the political stronghold of former President Trump. The campaign has emphasized the significance of investing in the state, calling it pivotal to getting the 270 electoral votes needed for victory. The campaign has hired staff in the state and invested significant funds into advertising. It plans to focus attention on issues like abortion, framing Florida as a battleground where President Biden's policies contrast sharply with Trump's.
The campaign also plans to highlight other issues ranging from access to health care to gun control and education. Former President Trump beat Biden in the state in 2020 by a 3% margin. A Republican effort to woo black voters is taking shape in Milwaukee. Activists hope President Biden's low approval ratings create an opening for former President Trump. Here's the story.
If you visit this street corner in Milwaukee's historically black Bronzeville neighborhood, you'll find a Republican Party outpost in a Democratic stronghold. Inside, a portrait of civil rights hero Martin Luther King hangs alongside Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump. And it's here that Orlando Owens is charting a course to what he hopes will be a Republican victory in the 2024 presidential election.
Milwaukee doesn't have to turn Republican. We just need to have an uptick. That's why it's so important. If we can get just a small bump here in the city, a small bump in the county, we win the state. We win the state, we win the country.
President Joe Biden won Wisconsin in 2020 by just 21,000 votes. The November election will likely come down to narrow victories in a few key battleground states. African American voters helped power Biden's win last time, but the president's languishing approval ratings have Republicans hoping to undercut black support for the president.
It's a strategic move on the part of the Republican Party to think about how many votes, black votes, they can get in Milwaukee or throughout the state.
Kathy Cohen teaches political science at the University of Chicago, and she underscored the importance of Milwaukee and the state of Wisconsin to Biden's re-election prospects.
Most individuals who follow the elections would say that without Milwaukee, Biden easily loses Wisconsin. I think the Biden campaign understands that. I think we will see a deep investment in ads and get out the vote and messaging and visits, all the things that, in fact, a candidate needs to do to indicate their commitment to that state and to those communities.
Black voters have long been a core constituency of the Democratic coalition. In February, the Biden campaign aired radio ads in Wisconsin and other battleground states, touting a record low in the black unemployment rate and an increase in black-owned small businesses. But some locals expressed ambivalence about the upcoming election.
Just the rise in prices, the inflation, it wasn't like that when Trump was in office.
Antonio Perkins is a barber at G's Clippers in Milwaukee.
I mean, I am undecided. It's funny, I voted for Biden to get Trump out of office last election, and now I'm swaying more to Trump because of the things that we thought it was going to be better, and it just actually got worse. So yeah, I'm definitely don't know which way to sway at this point.
I think the Democratic Party has not only taken the black vote for granted, they have disrespected the black vote.
Some, like Shauna Gray, who owns the Gray Jet Cafe, said she had reluctantly decided to vote for Trump in November. But it's unclear how successful Republicans will be at making inroads. The Republican National Committee announced it was axing plans for 40 community centers aimed at organizing Black, Hispanic, and Asian American voters.
Former White House trade advisor Peter Navarro hits a legal setback. He's attempting to guard presidential records in his personal email account. Navarro is currently serving time in prison for defying a congressional subpoena. A panel of judges denied his appeal on Monday, stating the records must be turned over to the National Archives and Records Administration.
Navarro insists that the records are personal, not professional, and he wants assurances they wouldn't be used in his separate criminal prosecution.
In that case, he faces contempt of Congress charges for defying a subpoena from lawmakers investigating the January 6 Capitol breach. Still to come, fast food prices have been outpacing inflation. A franchise expert tells whether the dollar menu is still feasible and the changes he sees in the fast food industry.
An illegal Chinese immigrant arrested after breaching a U.S. military base in California. From scuba diving at rocket launch sites to snapping photos of White House communication gear. A look at the growing trend of Chinese tourists getting lost at sensitive U.S. military bases. More in just a moment here on NTD News Today.
I have never seen a production any better than this, anywhere.
Breathtaking. It is absolutely stunning.
I feel better about the world. I feel uplifted.
Invigorating. It was encouraging, gave me hope.
This has just been therapy for the soul.
It's a must-see. Must-see.
Make sure you see it. Make sure you see it.
Coming to Lincoln Center, NJ Pack, State Theater, Purchase, and Stamford. Genuine.com.
These are all farmers. Maybe
no,
not this
not
one.
A farm anymore.
But here's a farm, right?
No, there's also not a farm anymore.
All these people shut down because of the government policies?
Yeah.
The government wants to control the food, so we don't eat meat, but we eat insects.
As the price of staples goes through the roof, people will say, I can't afford a steak anymore, so all right, I'll eat your stupid crickets.
I had a pretty normal mom life. Everything was pretty good, and it was a very happy life.
And we just had a new baby. And then all of a sudden, within
a day or two, she's on life support and fighting for her life.
Then I knew something was pretty wrong. A little less than a week after I came home, I couldn't breathe. That's when we decided to go to the hospital. I was given the diagnosis that I had peripartum cardiomyopathy, which is basically a pregnancy-induced heart failure. They told me my only chance was a heart transplant.
And the American Heart Association helped make that possible. Their research helped save me.
This could not happen without monthly donations from friends like you. Your sustained support helps fund life-saving research that leads to medical breakthroughs, like those that gave Jen a second chance at life. Heart disease is the #1 killer in America, and we urgently need your help to save lives. Go to helpheart.org or call now to become a monthly donor today. Your donation of only $19 a month, just 63 cents a day, will make a difference through prevention, early detection, treatments, and cures that help save lives.
I am very thankful for the American Heart Association. I'm grateful for just every day that I get with my children.
Please go to helpheart.org or call now with your donation of just $19 a month. Join our community of monthly donors, and you'll get this limited edition t-shirt you could wear to show you're helping save lives.
One simple act today can save your life or the life of a loved one.
So please, call or go to helpheart.org now to help save lives.
Turning now to the Trump classified documents case. Today is the deadline for attorneys to submit proposed jury instructions. Judge Eileen Cannon made the unusual request after the former president's attorneys argued that the prosecution's claims under the Espionage Act are too vague. We turn now to our legal correspondent, Arlene Richards, to find out what Cannon is looking for. Arlene, thank you for joining us. Now, so what specifically did the judge ask for?
So she's asking for proposed jury instructions regarding counts 1 through 32. And counts 1 through 32 are actually at the heart of this case because this is where all of the activity occurred from the time that the documents were transferred from the White House to Mar-a-Lago to the conversations that Trump had with the archives to after the FBI searched Mar-a-Lago. So she's honing in on those 32 counts because this is in dispute between the parties.
And so why did she order this only for counts 1 through 32?
So this is a follow-up to 2 motions to dismiss that were filed by the Trump's attorneys as well as the co-defendants. And in the first motion, they said that the terms in this statute, the Espionage Act, are too vague. For example, unauthorized possession. They said, what does that mean? You know, who has the authority to tell us whether we can possess these documents or not? And I'm talking about the classified documents. And so she actually denied that motion because she said it was too premature. They need more evidence. The other motion said that this should be brought under the Presidential Records Act, not under the Espionage Act, because he was the president at the time that he decided which documents should be taken out of the White House. And so he had full authority to make that decision. And she's saying that there are competing scenarios here in these 2 statutes. She's not clear which statute should be applied in this case. And she's saying that under the Espionage Act, the jury would be able to view the documents to determine whether or not they were classified. But under the Presidential Records Act, they would have no right to view them because the president has sole authority and no one can question that.
Now, Arlene, so we've heard that this is an unusual move for the judge to order jury instructions so early. So can you break down what jury instructions are for us?
Yeah, this is kind of unusual because jury instructions are usually not given until after the whole entire trial is complete. And it's a legal guidelines for the jury to look at, to understand how they should assess the case, what questions they need to answer, what law should be applied, and how that applies to the facts in the case. And they have to determine like who actually, really proved their case at the end of this. And I think the judge is saying here, I don't know which one of these laws should apply, and I need something to help me out in advance to kind of make this decision, because she actually didn't really rule on the motion to dismiss for the Presidential Records Act. She hasn't officially ruled on that yet. So I think she's trying to get more clarity here by having them do this prematurely, but it's really very unusual for this to happen.
All right, Arlene Richards, thank you for informing us and the viewers, and appreciate your insight.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Arlene.
Fast food prices have been outpacing inflation. For insight, I spoke with Nick Neonakis, an expert on franchise and the owner of the franchise consulting company. Nick, welcome. Thank you for joining us. Now, according to Finance Buzz's report, fast food prices have outpaced the inflation rate since 2014. Please give us a high-level explanation for this.
Sure. Thanks so much for having me on. You know, fast food prices have increased actually at a rate higher than the inflation rate has, with most fast food chains increasing their prices at least 4 times since 2020. Some of them are up over 100% since 2020. And the reason is that, number one, food inflation. The price of food has gone up due to monetary policy in the U.S. and around the world. And then also labor inflation has increased significantly. So when you add these two things together, this is why you're feeling the pain when you go to buy your Happy Meal.
All right, yeah, thanks for that explanation. Now that explains a lot at the drive-thru. So now McDonald's no longer has any items on its $1 menu, much to the outrage of customers. Is a dollar menu still feasible nowadays, or is it a thing of the past?
You know, I think under the current circumstances, it's very difficult to make any money with a $1 item on a menu. And these are businesses. They have to turn a profit. They have to pay rent. They have to buy electricity. They have to pay wages. So they can't lose money on the items that they're selling, and that's why they have to take them out.
California has a $20 minimum wage that kicked in on Monday for fast food workers. How much will this affect customers?
You're going to see a significant impact on customers. You know, it's going to get passed down to everybody that's going into an In-N-Out burger or going into a Arby's or a McDonald's. And, you know, the sad thing is that the most vulnerable part of our society are the ones that are going to be hurt the most through the inability to pay for food. So their food choices are going to decrease substantially.
And do you see other states following California's lead in raising the minimum wage?
I suspect that other states probably will. And, you know, what it does when you have to start flowing those prices through to the consumer, ultimately it's going to make it go up. You know, food typically accounts for about 30%. The food cost accounts for about 30% of the overall item. So anytime you have any food increase come in, that's going to increase the amount that's coming out of that sale to the business. The labor is going to be another 20+%. So these things, when you start tallying them up, it really starts taking money out of the business owner's pockets. Now, they are trying to address this with some very creative ways. I see a lot of technology coming in. I see aggregating food purchases coming in through some of the larger chains, trying to lower the cost of food. Because at the end of the day, if a consumer can't afford to buy the food, the products that these restaurants produce, they're not going to be in business.
Nick Neonakis, expert on franchise and owner of the franchise consulting company, thank you so much for your insight.
Thank you for having us.
And next we have more updates on the bridge collapse in Baltimore. The U.S. Coast Guard has opened a temporary alternate channel for vessels involving in clearing debris. This channel is on the northeast side of the collapsed bridge. Officials say this is part of a phased approach to opening the main channel leading to the vital port.
Crews are removing steel and concrete at the site of the bridge's deadly collapse, and the task can be complicated.
Officials say the temporary channel is open only to vessels helping with the cleanup effort. A tugboat pushing a barge for the Defense Department was the first vessel to cross the alternate channel.
2 additional larger channels are planned as more debris is removed from the waterway.
We're talking about a situation where a portion of the bridge beneath the water has been described by Unified Command as chaotic wreckage. Every time someone goes in the water, they are taking a risk. Every time we move a piece of the structure, the situation could become even more dangerous. We have to move fast, but we cannot be careless.
Owner and manager of the cargo ship that rammed into the Baltimore bridge aims to limit liability for the deadly disaster.
A court filing yesterday seeks to cap the company's liability at just over $43 million.
A federal court in Maryland will decide ultimately who is responsible for what could become one of the costliest catastrophes of its kind.
President Biden will travel to Baltimore on Friday and is expected to meet with state and local leaders as he tours the damaged area. Maryland Governor Wes Moore explained yesterday the dangers involved in the cleanup effort.
And near the site of the bridge collapse, community members put a memorial to the workers who were killed.
2 workers survived. 2 bodies were found in a submerged pickup, and 4 more men are presumed dead.
The workers have been described as immigrants from Mexico, Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador.
We know him because he owns a food truck on Glen Burnie, and we sometimes come buy food there, and also that's why we are surprised when we hear it was one of those guys involved in this accident. So that's why we try and get all people together to try and support. It's very hard for those people. You go to work and you never know if you're gonna come back.
And more than 4,000 at-risk troops were neglected between April 2021 and March 2023. A new Government Accountability Office report reveals that the Department of Defense dropped the ball. Service members are supposed to get personal support from agencies to aid in their transition to civilian life. It's known as a warm handover. Every year, hundreds of thousands make the transition from the military to civilian life. Some are at risk of severe challenges such as homelessness. Veterans also have a higher rate of suicide than civilians. According to the latest VA report, there were more than 6,300 suicide deaths in 2021. The office made 6 recommendations to improve the warm handover process, and the DoD agreed.
The last living survivor of the U.S. Arizona battleship that exploded and sank during the Japanese bombing of Pearl Harbor has died. The World War II veteran was 102 years old.
Lou Conter was standing on the main deck of the Arizona as Japanese planes flew overhead on December 7, 1941.
The ship lost nearly 1,200 sailors and Marines in the attack that drew the United States into World War II.
Conter passed away yesterday at his home in Grass Valley, California, following congestive heart failure.
According to the California State Chair of the Sons and Daughters of Pearl Harbor Survivors, 19 survivors of Pearl Harbor are still alive.
General Electric, the global conglomerate that makes everything from jet engines to washing machines, is now 3 independent companies. GE completed its plan to split into 3 companies focused on aviation, healthcare, and energy. The company has struggled for years with underperforming stock and mounting debt. Its problems intensified when the COVID-19 pandemic hit, crippling its aviation arm when air travel came to a screeching halt. Executives at the 3 new companies are calling this a promising new era. The company's sprawling headquarters will no longer be in Boston. GE's energy company, GE Verona, will be based in Cambridge, Massachusetts. GE Healthcare is now headquartered in Chicago, and GE Aerospace finds its new home near Cincinnati.
United Airlines wants its pilots to take time off, but there's a catch. It's unpaid. The issue is Boeing, which hasn't been able to deliver some of the airplanes that United ordered. Since there aren't enough planes to fly, the airline is asking pilots to volunteer for unpaid leave. For now, this request is for May, but a pilot's union memo says the voluntary time off program could extend through the summer. More than 80% of United's fleet uses Boeing airplanes. The carrier is looking into buying more jets from Airbus, but deliveries on new orders can take years.
And pet parents can now bring a full-size carry-on in addition to a pet carrier on American Airlines flights. USA Today reports passengers bringing a small pet on board can choose whether they want their second bag to be a small personal item that goes under the seat or a larger bag that fits in the overhead cabin. Before, they were only allowed to bring the small personal item and the pet carrier. The airline's $150 pet fee is still the same, and animals must remain in their carriers. Coming up, American tech giants are keen to get their Taiwanese manufacturing partners to locate to Mexico instead of mainland China. Details on the new Wall Street Journal report.
Secretary of State Antony Blinken visits a howitzer factory in Versailles. The visit comes as Ukraine runs low on artillery ammunition. We'll have the details soon when we return.
How'd it happen?
She showed up dead on arrival.
This never gets easier.
It does when you call CarShield before your car breaks down. Look at these prices. The camshaft, transmission, engine.
Don't people know? A plan through CarShield could protect up to 5,000 parts and systems.
You hate to see it.
An out-of-warranty car is gonna break down eventually.
Right, which is why they need a plan through CarShield. Those expensive repair bills get paid and at the mechanic of their choice. They're notifying the family.
Poor guy, he doesn't even know what's coming.
Another victim of senselessly expensive repair bills. Can't save them all.
But we can keep trying. Didn't have to end this way. If he'd have just called CarShield before his car broke down.
Exactly.
Protect yourself from the unprecedented rise in cost for parts and repairs. Call now to save money with your price lock guarantee. Call 800-429-5128.
If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. If you're happy and you know it, ride your bike.
If you're happy and you know it, then your face will surely show it.
If you're happy and you know it, smile big and bright.
Thousands of kids just like me are happy every day.
And it's all because of generous people like you who support Shriners Hospitals for Children every month.
All you have to do is call the number on your screen or go online to loveshriners.org right now with your monthly gift.
Because of people like you, Shriners Hospitals for Children is able to make an everyday miracle happen for kids like me.
If you're happy and you know it, dance around. If you're happy and you know it, play a song.
If you're happy and you know it, and your face will surely show it.
If you're happy and you know it, take a shot.
And when you call or go online right now to donate $19 a month or more, we'll send you this adorable Love to the Rescue blanket as a thank you and a reminder of all the smiles you're bringing to kids' faces every day.
Will today be the day you send your love to the rescue?
When you call the number on your screen right now and give as little as $19 a month, just 63 cents a day, you'll be making a life-changing difference for a child, just like Sarah.
Your monthly gift today could change your life forever.
Because of you.
We are happy and we know it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Please call or go online right now to give. If operators are busy, please wait patiently or go to loveshriners.org right away.
Updates on the Israel-Hamas war. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says Israeli forces unintentionally killed aid workers in the Gaza Strip.
Unfortunately, in the last day, there was a tragic incident where our forces unintentionally struck innocent people in the Gaza Strip. It happens in war, and we are thoroughly investigating it. We are in contact with the governments and will do everything to prevent such occurrences in the future.
According to World Central Kitchen, an Israeli airstrike killed at least 7 of its aid workers on Monday. World Central Kitchen is a U.S.-based group delivering food to civilians in Gaza.
The group said the victims included citizens of Australia, Poland, the United Kingdom, and a U.S.-Canada dual citizen. The killed workers were traveling in 2 armored cars when the convoy was hit in central Gaza.
The Israeli military said an independent body will open an investigation into the incident and get to the bottom of it. The military offered condolences and promised the investigation will be thorough and transparent.
The U.S. says it has been in contact with Israel. Leaders from the UK, Australia, and Poland responded to the news.
The victims of yesterday's strike join a record number of humanitarian workers who have been killed in this particular conflict. These people are heroes. They run into the fire, not away from it. They show the best of what humanity has to offer when the going really gets tough.
Shocked and saddened to hear the reported deaths of aid workers in Gaza. We're urgently working to confirm all the details, but my thoughts right now with their friends and family.
Australia expects full accountability for the deaths of aid workers, which is completely unacceptable. Aid workers and those doing humanitarian work, and indeed all innocent civilians, need to be provided with protection.
This is a tragedy. We still do not understand how this could have happened. I would like to express my sincere condolences to the family of our brave volunteer.
And Mexico is gaining attention in the U.S. effort to distance itself from China. Manufacturers are moving billions of dollars from China to the United States southern border. Some U.S. tech giants such as Dell and Hewlett have asked their manufacturers to establish more factories for AI-related gear in Mexico, according to the Wall Street Journal.
Analysts say some Taiwanese companies are also heeding the call. One of them is Foxconn, the world's largest chip manufacturer. More than 90% of cutting-edge chips are made in Taiwan, including those in iPhones, cars, and some weapons.
Companies in Mexico benefit from a free trade deal with the U.S. and Canada, which took effect in 2020.
Analysts say it's crucial to diversify supply chains and reduce reliance on China. During the pandemic, Chinese lockdowns crippled commerce in the West. The Chinese Communist Party is spreading disinformation in Taiwan. The goal seems to be to diminish morale.
For 3 years, rumors have been circulating that Taiwan's President Tsai Ing-wen would flee to the U.S. if war broke out with China. Officials repeatedly denied the reports.
It turns out Chinese state media outlets have been feeding the story to the island without showing any evidence. That's according to the Information Environment Research Center.
The rumors peaked during Taiwan's presidential election earlier this year. Despite this, the president's right-hand man was elected as her successor. He's also viewed as a China hardliner.
Beijing has vowed to bring Taiwan under the communist rule and threatened to use force.
President Biden had a phone call with Chinese regime leader Xi Jinping today, aiming to manage the strained U.S.-China relationship.
They discussed economic relations, tensions over Taiwan, China's support for Russia in Ukraine, and cybersecurity threats.
It's their first call since July 2022. In their last in-person meeting in November, Biden and Xi agreed to resume military communication.
Treasury Secretary Yellen will meet with Chinese officials during a 5-day trip to China. Secretary of State Antony Blinken is also set to visit China later this year.
And now, shifting gears, we have some short headlines from Finland, Germany, and other European countries. A school shooting in Finland today. A 12-year-old shot and wounded 3 other students. Police say 1 was killed and the 2 others are at the hospital.
They also say they took the suspect into custody after the student fled by foot. The country's public broadcaster reports the handgun was licensed to a close relative of the shooter.
Russian President Vladimir Putin says that Russia will find out who's behind the Moscow attack. Last month's attack on a concert hall killed over 140 people.
ISIS terrorists claimed responsibility for the attack. Putin today also said that the tragedy shouldn't lead to xenophobia and Islamophobia in Russia.
Russia says it has evidence the attackers had links to Ukraine. Kyiv and the U.S. have denied the accusations. Russia is working on removing the Taliban from its list of banned terrorist organizations. Russian officials say they talked to the Taliban because it's the de facto authority in Afghanistan.
Adding that because Afghanistan is close to Russia, they can't stop communication. The Kremlin didn't give any details on removing the Taliban from the list, saying the issue is still being worked on.
Secretary of State Antony Blinken is in France with the French Minister of Defense. He visited a weapons factory providing howitzer cannons to Ukraine.
Ukraine currently owns a fleet of 49 French-made howitzers, But U.S. military aid to Ukraine has been stalled for months in Congress.
The supplementary budget request that President Biden has made to Congress must be fulfilled as quickly as possible. It's needed now. It's needed urgently. But it's also an investment in ourselves.
France's defense minister said that the country would send more surface-to-air missiles to Ukraine in partnership with Italy.
Blinken will head to Brussels for a NATO meeting tomorrow.
Germany plans to send more than $600 million worth of artillery shells to Ukraine. That's a contribution to a Czech-led plan to buy ammunition for Ukraine.
The most pressing need for Ukraine has become artillery ammunition. More countries have been signing up to the Czech plan. Germany's share will account for 40% of the initiative.
And lastly, Norway is increasing its number of conscripted soldiers. It plans to go from the present 9,000 to over 13,000.
Norway's defense minister says the country must have enough people with the right skills at the right time. Norway is set to reach the new goal within the next 12 years.
Neighboring Denmark has been discussing making a similar call in recent weeks. To increase the numbers, it may extend conscription to women and increasing the time of service from 4 months to 11 months. Coming up, thrill seekers and nature lovers in Umbria will get a bird's eye view of the Italian countryside starting Saturday, only if they're brave enough to step foot on a new attraction.
A sea of blooming cherries is attracting visitors to Tokyo. This marks the latest cherry blossom season in a decade. Find out why.
And Shen Yun Performing Arts is coming to New York City. After a successful stop in New Brunswick, New Jersey, we hear what some audience members had to say about the show.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see.
They're just young people, hungry, homeless, and vulnerable. Abused youth often feel safer on the street. Now, more than ever, that's the most dangerous place of all. Covenant House is helping young adults facing homelessness. We're providing safe shelter to thousands, but the need is overwhelming, and no young person is ever turned away. Please call or go online now with your gift of $19 a month to help a young person. You'll provide safe shelter, hot meals, and medical care. Your gift will show them they're loved. Homeless young people are afraid and alone with nowhere else to turn.
You want to know that there's somewhere you can go that's safe. So the Covenant House did that for us.
Please call now with your gift of $19 a month. We'll send you this blanket as a reminder of the comfort your gift provides a young person tonight. Please don't wait. Your gift is the lifeline a young person needs now. Call the number on your screen or go online to safeplacetosleep.org. Thank you for saving precious lives.
When I drink it, the first thing was I feel the warmth in my tummy. It's kind of like gently radiating out, a kind of a very comforting warmth. And it was really good, actually. I felt much better. I did feel, actually, an effect. And I find that it is actually better when I take it regularly.
It's actually steamed and dried 9 times. And so it's really, the essence is really extracted.
Then the second time, I tried it really like on an empty stomach and just 2 teaspoons of it and over a few times. And wow, that was a big difference because suddenly I could feel, wow, I was very good energized. I didn't have to eat. I could work outside in the garden for a couple of hours and I still felt very well. And I was impressed by that. So I think it's a good product.
Thrill seekers and nature lovers in Italy can get a bird's eye view of the countryside, only if they're brave enough to set foot on a new attraction. NTD's Andrew Thomas has more.
A Tibetan bridge suspended nearly 575 feet above the ground opens on Saturday in Umbria, Italy. The structure connects the picturesque village of Solano with the tiny hamlet of Montesanto. Daredevils can walk 1,700 feet across the river valley.
Everyone sees it as a crazy idea and even a bit dangerous, and it's not true, because it's extremely safe and there are trained personnel to put the harnesses on and get people across the bridge. As you can see, the safety system is very reliable and state-of-the-art.
Solano was founded in Roman times and was then part of the Papal States for centuries. But since the 1960s, the village has suffered progressive depopulation.
Well, consider that this is an area that has been abandoned gradually since the 1960s. We needed something with a wow factor, something really a bit visible to attract people and to set in motion a machine that's been standing still and idle for a while.
Overhanging the river, the bridge connects the village of Montesanto with its former enemy, Solano.
This bridge physically connects two factions, the main town and the hamlet of Montesanto. We say physically because for centuries they waged war against each other. So this bridge not only unites tourists, but physically unites, as if it were a historical link, two factions that are now friends and no longer enemies.
It takes about 40 minutes to walk across the bridge to Montesanto.
But all around the bridge we are developing activities from trekking to biking, horse riding, and we have several other plans, big and small. And the idea is to coordinate all these plans so that the area becomes an attractor in itself.
Tickets for the bridge cost around $25. Batista hopes the attraction encourages visitors to spend a few days in town. If it draws enough thrill seekers, the development could provide a boost for the local economy. Andrew Thomas, NTD News.
Renovators discovered special flowers at a British mansion. The newly fixed-up plant house at Wentworth Woodhouse in South Yorkshire is home to some of the world's oldest camellias.
Camellias first came to the UK in the early 18th century.
Wealthy families imported the flowers from China.
Wentworth Woodhouse historian David Allott explains their significance.
The Camellia house was in a very sorry state, and at one point it was on the Buildings at Risk register. They then worked with the International Camellia Society in Chiswick. We knew that the camellias were old, but it's only through their work and their references that we found out how important they are, both in this country and in the world.
Wentworth Woodhouse is open to visitors after the $6.3 million restoration project.
The newly revamped Camellia House has been transformed into a tea house.
Other parts of the building are also undergoing renovations, such as part of a $250 million project.
The work hopes to restore the grand stately home to its former prestige.
And in Tokyo, residents and tourists are rushing to see the cherry blossoms, but the forecast warns of rainy weather. Tokyo's cherry blossom season started last Friday. This is the latest it's been in a decade due to low temperatures in March.
Cherry blossoms are usually in full bloom about a week to 10 days after the first bloom, but rain can cause the delicate pink flowers to fall.
I came out because today is the last opportunity to view cherry blossoms. Tomorrow it will start raining and the cherry blossoms will start falling, so I didn't want to lose the opportunity.
It would have been better if it were 3 or 4 days later, but it's going to start raining. We had many days in March when it suddenly became cold, so cherry blossom viewing this year is quite disappointing.
The tradition of viewing cherry blossoms typically attracts crowds. People often go to parks to sit under cherry trees for picnics.
The park near the Imperial Palace is a popular spot for such activities. Due to the approaching bad weather, many rush to see the flowers while they can.
And next, Shen Yun Performing Arts successfully closed the curtains on 5 performances at the State Theatre, New Jersey, in New Brunswick. The Chinese classical dance company is now heading to New York City to Lincoln Center.
Shen Yun also received a proclamation for their efforts from the mayor of New Brunswick, and an audience member called the performance timeless and something that the world needs right now. Let's take a look.
It is my distinct honor to proclaim with this proclamation March 28th, 29th, 30th, and 31st of 2024 Shen Yun Performance Days in the city of New Brunswick.
Shen Yun Performing Arts took theatergoers in New Brunswick, New Jersey on a journey through ancient China from March 28th through the 31st. Among audience members were Bert Barron from the Office of Public Information for the city of New Brunswick. He awarded Shen Yun with a proclamation from Mayor Jim Cahill.
Visually and audibly stunning in every way possible, but at its heart, it's a message of compassion and understanding that is timeless, that will never go out of style. It's something that the world could all use right about now.
I think it's gorgeous. It's so seamless. The orchestra is doing a fantastic job. I think the conductor really feels the emotion behind the songs and carries that through each movement. It's beautiful. It is very well done.
Everything is so beautiful. I keep using the same word, but it's just the colors and the dance and the music all together. I mean, everything is just, I want to think of a better word than beautiful, so maybe fabulous.
Through story-based dance and music, Shen Yun aims to revive 5,000 years of traditional Chinese culture and values from a time before communism. Audience members admired Shen Yun's efforts and took note of a deeper message.
I loved everything. I particularly enjoyed how the goodness showed through, that it was warm and important. This entire show takes place before communism. And the theme it brings of compassion and caring, goodness and light, was very evident to me, and one of the reasons I enjoyed it so much.
I feel the energy, I feel a message of peace and harmony and being at peace with your soul, and I really like this message.
Theatergoers were mesmerized and highly recommended seeing Shen Yun.
Incredible costumes, wonderful music, timeless presentation, and this is a show that I would recommend to absolutely anyone.
I'd say go. Go, go, go. Don't wait. Enjoy it. Yeah, I know we did. We came as a family and we all enjoyed it.
Shen Yun can be seen at the David H. Koch Theater at Lincoln Center in New York City, New York, from April 3rd through April 14th. NTD News, New Brunswick, New Jersey.
Shen Yun is bringing around 30 performances to 5 cities in New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut. Tomorrow night, they begin a 2-week stay with 14 performances at Lincoln Center in New York City.
I will definitely catch that. That's all for today's news. Thanks for watching.
And don't forget that starting next Monday, April 8th, NTD News Today will switch to a 3-hour newscast.
So tune in from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern for more stories.
For round-the-clock original news coverage, visit us at ntd.com or download our app.
Performance that truly matters for each and every one of us. This is what you've been waiting for. Shen Yun, coming to Lincoln Center, April 3rd through the 14th. Buy tickets now at shenyun.com.